Hey golfers, Tony with Reactionary Golf. One of our lab tech members, Mike, asked me a question. How come I never hear you talking about shallowing out the plane or shallowing out the golf club? And I had to do some thinking because, we use the foresight, so we get all angle of attack. And I know we're looking, my preference is to be about 2 to 4 degrees down with an iron. I like that 2 to 3 range, but sometimes I'll get a tendency to get a little steep on it, which is 4, which still isn't bad, but I like to keep it as shallow as possible. And I started thinking, I said, well, there's no reason to artificially manipulate the club, because if the arms bring the club into the ball and the body works properly, we're at those 2 to 3 degrees of angle of descent, and that's all we need with an iron. So, and when he sent me a picture, because I wasn't really quite sure with what he was talking about, and what he's talking about is trying to get the club, instead of at the top, your first move is trying to get this, instead of this angle, they were talking about how to get that club there. And the issue I have with in helping Mike and understand that you don't have to do that is to understand that, first of all, the club doesn't really swing on a plane till we get into this functional swing plane here. And so we have to look at club head trajectory. So when I look at this and we take a look at how a golf club is designed to sit on this angle, this is really all we need to be worried about, is at this angle here. So relative to my hands and the ball, if my hands are in front as I'm coming into it, that's going to produce a steeper angle of attack. If my hands are more even with the ball, okay, this way, now that's going to produce a shallower angle of attack. But really, it has nothing to do with what the club's doing here. It has to do with what the club is doing from this point into the ball relative to the placement of my hands upon impact. So if you get the club in this position, and if I think about it, how am I going to hammer this ball? I'm going to have to do a lot of manipulation in order to redirect that club. So that means I'm taking a lot of my force and energy into not delivering speed into the ball, but to redirect the club in order to get it moving. So that's a lot of manipulation. Now, if the ball was up here, and I got the club up here, you can see how easy that is. Okay, but because we're bent over, there's got to be this inclined path, or this inclined kind of trajectory has to be working more into the ball that way. So there's really no reason to do that. It's just an artificial manipulation. Maybe it came from camera angles, I don't know. So we really don't have to worry about that. Now, what causes us to get steep generally is when we see this overactive body rotation, and then the arms are working to get the club down. Now you can see this club's coming from the outside. But again, depending on where my hands are at impact, I can be outside, but still have a shallow angle of attack. So I got foresight running here, and I'm going to get some numbers for everybody. Now, I've been sitting in front of a computer for this week, so I'm going to try to demonstrate a couple different shots, create different angle of attack, which we'll put all in the video for you to see so we can have a better discussion with this. So I'm going to say, let's get steep over the top. So now my trajectory, my functional swing plane is to the left, but I'm actually going to shallow out the club and try to get to like 1 or 2 degrees angle of attack. So that's the shot. Should be able to hit kind of a high fade with this. And that was a little pull, kind of got stuck there on the bottom because I'm trying to get that club coming in this way. And we'll see with what we get on the video. I mean, it was a toe shot. So we're not looking at quality of shot. We're just understanding how that club is being delivered into the ball. So angle of attack on that one was 1.5 down. So this club is only working at 1.5 down. So that would be very shallow. But you can see from over the top, my path was out to in. Now, I'm also now going to redirect it. Let's get it a little bit more from the inside, and now I'm going to get steep into it. So there's my push draw. So the numbers coming up will show us what that club is doing, how much inside it came. Ball didn't really drew back. So 6.4 degrees down, very steep from what I'd like to see, path in to out. So shallow isn't really a good way to think about up here. You know, it's really what is happening when this club is coming into the ball, because that's all the ball is going to respond to. I don't care, you know, Furyk is all over the place, but guess what? He's the best at coming in at 0 on tour. At least this was a couple years ago, according to TaylorMade and their mat system. So don't worry about trying to shallow things this way. Don't worry about if you're coming in steep. Those are just different directions to actually create shots. Now, if you come in over the top, okay, and you don't like that ball flight, then yeah, let's go ahead and change the path. Because obviously the path and that club face are the two most important things in order to control ball flight. So let's just hit one straight now. Okay, a little bit of a baby draw, just a few yards offline. And a little bit off the toe. So we're going to see what these numbers are, and what we're going to do is say, again, realize that it's more of a relationship between the hands, the ball, and the club that create the angle of attack into the ball. And that was 5.4 downward angle of attack. Path was 0.4 out to in. Ball was just like 2 yards offline. So don't get caught up into all this stuff. Just take a look at what's happening down here, and are we in a good position here? Is the wrist working through extension into flexion and delivering the club into the ball? For more detailed information about how to really control the downswing, join Inside the Golf Lab. And this is where we really get down into a lot more detail in order to understand how to really control the club to be able to play your best game. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.